Yo, what's up, guys? Today I just wanted to talk about nostalgia itself and why it has such a big role in our society right now. And I think it's because most of my generation, or most of us people, probably people who are listening to this, have the feeling of being robbed of their youth, right? First of all, back then, everything was so much simpler. If you like compare it back then, if you were in a small town, you had the option to go into the big city and try to become something big, or you could stay in your small town, become a teacher, become a police officer, or something similar, right? You would be in your community and everything would be still within the community. It wouldn't feel like you were just working for some corporate shit job that for someone faceless. It was not faceless work. And especially like your time in school and your time outside of the school, your summer vacations and the time where you were applying for jobs or looking for jobs, maybe even as like still a student, like 16, 17, 18 years old, you were still like surrounded by this familiarity and still had hopes for the future, right? And then this entire lockdown shit happened, and for some reason, it got stretched over a couple of years, and most people never recovered from that. That is why nostalgia is so prevalent nowadays. If I look at, for example, now League of Legends Classic coming out, World of Warcraft Classic coming out, people who are trying to assimilate what was it before, trying to capture the audience with nostalgia bait. Look at, for example, Stranger Things. The biggest reason why this entire series got hyped so hard is because of the aesthetic. You actually saw how people back then lived. They didn't have the mobile phone. They didn't have 24/7 internet connection. They To meet someone, you actually had to attend to their house and ask them out, right? It was more personalized, and people are craving this social community feeling. They're romanticizing how working for someone that's which face you know is 10 times better than working for a like shit corporation. And now people like me, we are all a bit older, and we have the direct comparison because of this shadow blob that was the 2 to 4 years lockdown and restrictions, right? So you know how it was before, how fulfilling, how colorful everything was. Then there was the big shadow, the 2 years of strict lockdown and the 2 years aftermath. So basically 4 years got lost. I for myself, I'm pushing 30 now. I'm pushing my 30s soon, and I still feel like I'm 23 because that's the age where the lockdowns hit. And before the lockdowns hit, I had a vibrant social life. I was overweight, I lost weight, I met new people, I met girls, I met boys for like friendships. I had a good connection. It was not like a lifetime friends, right? But they're still friends that you could socialize with. You had every weekend you had something to do. Every weekend was like fancy as fuck and just put a smile on your face. And then for some reason 2 years of complete nilch. You're just in the big nothing. You lose the connections to other people, and even if you try to connect to the other peoples, they all changed. You also changed. Everyone is more antisocial. That's probably it is all by design, because the more antisocial you are, the more you are online. The more you're online, the more you are depressed because you're comparing yourself with other people who apparently did not got struck by this entire lockdown shit and now are thriving, earning like 6 figures in a month just because they're posting some influencer shit, how they're on like fucking some islands getting fucking piped down by some people, some Instagram bitches and some crap like that. And then you compare this and then you think to yourself, holy shit, back then everything was better, which actually essentially it was, right? But you're craving now, oh, I need to feel happy again. And the only time I was happy was because before the lockdowns. And I don't even think that it wouldn't be that bad if the lockdowns never happened. People would be still like more thankful for how it played out, but it had to happen because we need everyone at home. We need everyone depressed as fuck. We need everyone to consume that shit as much as possible and to die out before they get any benefits out of their hard work. That's the entire plan. That's why they are pushing the shit, because let's just be honest, the lockdown has nothing to do with the virus, but was just social like engineering, so people would change for the worse, but viewing it from a corporation standpoint, it's better because they consume more and they do less, which is perfect for the most big companies, right? I mean, look at Instagram, look at Meta, look at Facebook. Okay, Facebook is Meta, and TikTok and all of this shit. It was just perfectly fine for them. They basically threw us under the bus just to make more money for them. And that's why everything is a shit right now, and everyone is craving for this nostalgia. And I, for myself, not only feel like back then it was better, because you didn't was everything was how could you say, everyone was disconnected, not everything was so globalized, and your mistakes didn't feel as punishing. Now you feel like one clog in a giant system, and as soon as you don't fit in, even if your opinion doesn't fit in, they will just replace you. These people with different attributes, with different strengths, with different weaknesses and different mindsets, that is no longer something that they want in you. And that is also something that most people are just realizing now. I mean, look at my generation, look at Gen Z. They don't want to work, not because they're lazy. For myself, I feel also not the urge to work, right? Because it feels like a dead-end job that I have to do for 40 years just to pass by, right? And I don't want this. Even though I was very optimistic about my degree and everything, right now how everything works out, and right now after I've viewed how the company or how the companies actually work, I just realized that it's just something that will never happen, or the work environment will never be as you dreamed it to be, right? And people are longing for simpler times, but still are so hard addicted to like their social media accounts and shit like that, that there's a constant cloud of like mischievous unhappiness, because there's this contradiction that everything is shit right now, and everything is mostly shit because we are more antisocial than ever, but you can't stop use social media, right? Because for some reason, I tried to go out yesterday. I was just sitting in a park and I was just watching around, and I just saw one group of people and like 10 people sitting in a park on a Friday afternoon. Just imagine that. So I realized that somebody who realizes how shit everyone is and sees the problem and knows that the digitalization and this corona bullshit and this lockdown bullshit basically fried the social part of the brain of everyone. If you try to break free from it, you're the odd one out. Because if you ask people where they meet, mostly they say via online or some shit like that. Because they're all disconnected. And if you try to relive the old times by doing the things that you did before the lockdowns happened, so you go outside and meet people in person, you just realize that it is no longer possible, because everyone is fried and everyone is in this constant state of, I want this nostalgia back, I want the old times back. But bad news is they won't come back, and the only thing that comes back are these like I said, League of Legends Classic, World of Warcraft Classic, some fucking bullshit gets reanimated, some remake, or Stranger Things. That's the most nostalgia that you will ever get, that copies or resembles the feeling that you had back then. Because the biggest problem is basically that post-COVID lockdowns and the stress and the mental damage that it took, plus this globalization and homogenization of everything, just corrupted the entire world peace itself. And that is something that you cannot escape right now, because everyone is just following the script. You feel like you're the only player in an NPC world, and there's basically not that much hope. And the nostalgia bait essentially is just something so that people can sleep more. You don't realize that everything is shit when you're constantly fed with good emotions that are actually bad emotions hiding as good emotions, because you're feeling this nostalgic feeling. It's just like it was back then, but it is just the little treat that you get, so you don't question why is it like it is today and not like before. Because if you would actually question this, you would realize that the way the companies work, the way the politicians work, the way the world itself work, and also this entire lockdown bullcrap was just a giant psyops to turn you into a fucking slave even more than you were before. So break free from the nostalgia bait. Don't let yourself get manipulated from these corporations that just want essentially your money and your attention. Try to go out more. Try to leave your phone behind more. And try to not participate in this shit. And also, I'm long gone for this nostalgia bait. I back then played League of Legends with my homies, and I know that what made it special was not the game itself, but the homies that I had, right? And because I cannot replace the people I have now, or I can just rejoin all of my homies when I was 17, I know that I cannot get the same satisfaction that I got back then. And people need to realize that that is true for every nostalgia bait, basically. Because it is not the thing, it's not the movie, it's not the video game, it's not the place that made it special. It was the entire, it was everything around it, right? It was the fact that you were stress-free, no future anxieties, good people that actually know you personally because you had to connect via real life and not via phone. You had a stable income family because back then, if both of your parents back in the early 2000s worked, you should be well off. There's no reason for you to be like poor, to be honest, because the salary back then, if I compare this, a combined salary of like 4K net, and like we lived in a big apartment that was like $700. We moved to a house and shit, but if you just compare it, that was your basic family back then. So you don't have the worries, you had the nice connections, you had no money issues, you had no future anxiety, you had your entire future in front of you. And then for some reason, they just say, yeah, you're locked down for 2 years, take everything away from you, and now you're mentally scarred for the rest of your life. Because I don't see myself recovering from this like stolen time. They basically stole my mid and early 20s, right? And I'm well off with that. There are some people that their like early teens got stolen, or their mid-teens, or their 18 to 20s. So the time where you actually socialize the most. And I know that not every fucking friend that you make along the path is a real friend, but it is not about the friends that you make, but also about the connections and how you approach them, and all the socializing skills that you should develop in your 20s. They just fell off the cliff because of this corona and this lockdown crap, and the way the world works now. I mean, look, most couples meet online on dating apps. The way you get a job is via 10 million applications that you spit out in LinkedIn. Your entire personal application is basically your Instagram account. You communicate with people in like 1 or 2 words instead of sentences. And all of this accumulated just de-socializes you, and people are not really looking for nostalgia itself, but the feeling of community and happiness and relaxedness that you had before the lockdowns happened. So that's just my opinion, but I think the lockdowns were a psyop to mentally destable most of the population, to turn them into really sheeps, into nice slaves. And now they're so addicted to this quote-unquote lifestyle that they cannot stop it, and they're forever trapped, where the only happiness they can ever enjoy is this nostalgia shit, without getting the conclusion that it is not the nostalgia shit, not the fucking series that get reinvented the 5th time in a row. It is the fact that the socializing was better back then. and the way the world worked was better back then. Back then, a shitty job could fucking land you still a nice apartment here in Germany. Now you need 2 nice jobs to get a half an apartment. That's what it feels like, right? So basically, you're just working to live. And back then, you lived and worked. That's how I would sum it up. But that's just me spiting some bullshit, complaining a bit. That has no real structure, this topic. I just wanted to talk about like the past, the future, the present right now. I know that my like mind is a bit like disorganized sometimes, and maybe some people cannot follow me, but I'm doing this mostly for myself, so I can like if I talk about a topic right now like this one, I'm free in my mind. I lose that shit. It occupies a space in my brain, like nostalgia for this reason, nostalgia bait as a topic, and I need to talk about this and spit it out there just so I can finally leave my head and I have free space for other shit that I have to think about, right? So if you're still listening to this, thank you for listening, I guess. And don't fall for this nostalgia bait. Just put the phone away. Don't try to recreate emotions back then that you cannot recreate firmly. Just try to live as if it was 2016. And even if you're alone, just try to make the best out of it, I would say. But yeah, you're not alone out there. I know it's shit. We all know it's shit. I will not fucking gaslight you into thinking that you did something wrong. The world did you wrong. As other people did you wrong. The boomers did you wrong. That basically complain, like complain to you, like, what the fuck. They had like the best time to be young. Took drugs at Woodstock, fucking completely smoked out, started a job with no degree, earning enough to buy a house, and then complain to you, somebody that studies for 7 years in a fucking getting a hard degree and still finds no job, even though you did 5,000 times their mental work, and then blame you for being depressed and like melancholic. Bro, what the fuck? Whatever, you're not alone out there. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.